You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like tinfoil, but way better.
It's like tinfoil, but way better.
Howdy folks, welcome back. Quick update, my website, isoufo.com, is almost ready, where I'll have my astrophotography prints for sale if you want to support the channel or you just like space pictures. Now let's get into it. A new video shows a Hellfire missile hitting what's claimed to be a UFO. And the big question nobody has asked is, how big was this UFO? To find out, I grabbed the official Reuters upload, broke it into high quality frames using a program called PIP, which is usually meant for astrophotography. I then picked the clearest shot just before impact. It's not an exact science, but it'll give us a solid ballpark estimate, and the results might actually surprise you. Before we dive in, drop your guess in the comments. How big do you think this thing was? Here's the frame we're going to be working with. It is in Photoshop, and right now there are no edits done to it, but I am going to make a few changes. We are going to invert it. And then we are going to boost the brightness and contrast so we can see it a little better. And we have the missile right there and the UFO right there. I'm gonna zoom in and quick select that. We're going to bring it over here. Now we could argue a little bit on which side of this white line to use for measuring. I'm just going to go with the top of it, twist it just a little bit, and that's roughly overlaid. Now we're going to actually measure this thing. Up here in the info panel, and it might be hard to see if you're on a smaller screen, right here has L, that's the length of the line in pixels. So that right there is 333 pixels, but we don't care about that, we care about this. The missile, 68.82. And we're going to go over here into ChatGPT and we're going to ask it how long is a Hellfire missile? And it is telling us it is about just under 6 feet. So 68.82. Go back over here. If 68.82 pixels is 5 feet 11 inches, how long is? Then we're going to measure this whole thing from here to the bottom. And we have 128.16. 128.16. And ChatGPT does all the heavy lifting, so I don't have to do any math. So the answer corresponds to about 11 feet. Now keep in mind this isn't exact, but it is a pretty solid ballpark. So the UFO is about 11 feet long, and we're going to ask, how long are military drones? Total length, not wingspan. All right, so they vary a lot. We have 27, 47, but right here, the RQ-7 Shadow, 11.2 feet. That is right in our ballpark. Regardless, that is pretty small. Things to keep in mind about this video, if you look at these numbers on the edges, they're shaking around. So whatever recorded the footage isn't on a stationary camera. So it kind of looks like someone recorded like a screen with their phone. The other thing to keep in mind, I mean, it's really cool, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't actually show us what happens next. Does this thing crash into the ocean? Does it keep flying in that straight line? Does it zoom off and, jump to warp speed and go somewhere else? Does it change directions? It really is incomplete. It's an incomplete footage. It does kind of look like it changed directions a little bit, but it doesn't show us what actually happens at the end. So I don't like that it's incomplete. I don't like that it is not the actual file. And I find it awfully convenient that there happened to be a drone tracking the UFO. And it's pretty remarkable that if it was a UFO, that we were able to lock onto it and then hit it with a missile. So to me, it seems kind of more like a test of their, an RQ-7 Shadow or similar type military drone, that they were testing some sort of new armor for it, or what happens when it gets hit with a blunt object at high speeds. If that's the case, they did a very good job by the looks of it. The other thing to keep in mind, like the things that fall off of it, they might not have actually fallen off of it. They might have just been flying underneath it, and you can't see it until the missile hits the main object and jostles it around. Then you can see what was underneath it, or maybe even on top of it. So potentially the little things could have been sensors. They could have been recording the impact if it was a test, like a close up of it. This is coming from the UFO guy that's 100% a believer, but to me, it is cool, interesting footage, but it is not like a smoking gun. It's not evidence of UFO technology or anything like that. Cool and fun to watch, but again, not evidence. There are a couple other things that I found a little weird, but I also don't really know how these types of cameras work. I do still photography, not much video. This is what I found a little weird. This is a little bit after impact. We got the little things that broke off. I think the main object's off camera right now. But we're going along. So this right here, what is that? So we got one frame, that thing like right there, and then crazy wiggleness. Next frame, the blur doesn't move. It's just the background gets dark. And then the next few frames are all white. Then we start coming back into focus. I'm not sure what to make of that. It does line up, like right now, it is zoomed out. Before the blur, we were zoomed in. So it's possible that that's just an artifact, or what happens when you're zooming out while you're recording. At least with this particular camera. I don't think my cameras would do that, but I also don't have a military drone camera. So that's one thing that I found odd. The other thing, this is the frame that I did the measurements off of, so it's just before impact. So go forward one, there's a missile, there's the UFO. Go forward one, missile, UFO. Go forward one, missile disappears. UFO doesn't move. Next frame. Now you see the background is moving. The UFO object is still unaffected at this point, and the missile is still not in frame. Next frame is actually a duplicate frame. So these two frames are the same. And then the next frame is when we notice the impact. So I mean, there's a few frames from missile, no reaction, duplicate frame, then there's a reaction. I don't know if that's normal or not either. I just found it a little interesting. Anyway, I don't know what to make of it. It is pretty cool though. That wraps up everything I wanted to discuss about the Hellfire missile UFO. I did happen to record this thing. It was a couple weeks ago when I was setting up my telescopes, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, this video will be coming out shortly. There is a lot more to it than just this. It is kind of an interesting shape and color, and it does some odd things. So I'll have this video coming out in the next week or two. If you want to check that thing out, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Stay safe.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like tinfoil, but way better.